Welcome back. Junior Rotax final is almost with us. Maximus Shields then starts on pole position with Sandro Ballesteros alongside Finn Whiting and Ollie Naylor, row 2. Nicholas Ellis and Tom Holden on row 3. Oliver Buckton and Bartek Filipiak start row 4. The top 10 completed by Sam Stoner and Jaden Hewitt, with Harry Hurst-Grover and Thomas Elston on row number 6. Then we've got Curtis Latimer, Jacob Vickers and Oliver Green completing our 15 runners in Junior Rotax. We have had some developments in our preceding classes here at Fulbeck in that in the Micromax, the podium has changed. Logan Lauder, 5-second penalty, drops him down into P5. Caden Simpson ends his day in the 3rd place. So the top 3 then in our Micromax class: Aston Brown, James Tate and Caden Simpson. No change, though, in our mini Rotax. No penalties applied to any of the top 10, with Blandford, Goff and Truman confirmed as your podium in the mini class. There's the juniors getting themselves ready to go. The guest class has just taken their checkered flag, but we have got a bit of a clear-up mission, mainly down towards Marshall's post 1, as we see Max Shields there now. Not dancing around as much as he was earlier. The focus now on that first corner for Max Shields. Consistency has been the key to his race day in our Junior Rotax ranks. And he's managing to put that cart on pole position with a solid 2nd place, and just picking up the points in his other heats has seen him amass enough to put it on the front row, but not really a massive spread of points in this one. This could go really to any of the top 10. They've just got to get round that first corner, as always, here at Fulbeck, and then just try and disappear into the distance. There's Jaden Hewitt. He'd like to take a decent result back with him back over the water to the Isle of Man, and we hope to see him throughout the rest of the CKC season. And we do really appreciate the drivers that are making that long distance commitment. I think later on in the year when we go to Lid, I think most of our drivers are going to be making a long distance commitment all the way down to the south coast. Tim Winters has been on, say go for gold. Sam Stoner, keep an eye out for him in the number 38. And looks like Freddie Housigo's been on. He's watching, he's racing, and he's also then watching when he's not racing. He's been and dropped a comment in saying, I am cadet number 69. And that is Freddie Housigo. And they've got a trip back to Cambridge, so hopefully they're getting loaded up, unless he's out in the A final. We'll see how they are later. I think at least one of them is, the 2 brothers, so we'll see how they go. The circuit looks fairly clear now, although there is a few marshals still making their way back to the post after that early clear out of our guest class down from the gravel. And, at turn 1 hairpin, there was at least 3 carts down there, as a few of the drivers actually walked back to collect their trolleys, and the carts are still parked all the way up there on the exit gate, which has recently been installed here at Fulbeck. One of a raft of changes in the last couple of years here at this Lincolnshire venue, which has seen the introduction of CIK compliant curbs on the inside and outside of the corners, additional in terms of flatter runoffs, additional area on the outside of the hairpin where they've concreted, rather than it being a straight drop into the gravel on the outside of there as well. New catch fencing all the way down the start straight as well. And there's the bit on the outside of the corner. That extra bit of concrete just giving drivers a bit of respite as well. In the back, oh, look at the shadow of our cameraman in the background as well. Chris Simpson there with the moves. And let us know in the live chat comments as whether they're good moves or bad moves. I'll just leave it at the moves, and I'll leave it up to you to decide whether it's they're good or bad here at Fulbeck. Most looks like we've got green, and one of the marshals is actually taking his sweeping brush back in, so it looks like we might have had some gravel or something on the circuit. But we're green at most posts here at Fulbeck. We should hopefully have the Junior Rotax final out on the track. We'll then have once this one's in the bag, we'll have a small interlude before we're back for Junior Pro Kart and the Honda Cadet A final, which will bring the day's racing here in Lincolnshire to a close for the opening round of the Cadet Kart and Junior Kart Championships. And what an exciting day it's been so far. 7 more rounds, so plenty of action throughout the rest of the season. We look forward to seeing this championship continue to go from strength to strength, as it has since its inception in 2020. As our runners make their way out. A very, very smoky Max Shields, actually, although now he's got that up to speed, it's most of it's decided it's had enough of the engines. We've got a spinner actually there in the background. And see whether that closes up. We've got yellow out down there, and we've got, I think, sure we had a spinner in the background. It was a 28. Just getting confirmation of that one in our junior class. So that was Oliver Green, and he's going to take now. He's going to have to catch back up. I think they're actually waving him round the cut through on the outside of the the short circuit here at Fulbeck. So he's cut through at the first chicane and joined back on the pack. So that's saved lots of time, and that's hopefully may well get this race underway at the first time of asking if he can close right up onto the back, as Jacob Vickers in 25 throws that kart round and tries to get some heat into the rear tyres. He's going to need it after the one of the retirements earlier on to come all the way through. He's got the pace, but he's got work to do. Here we go then. Are we going to go racing at the first time of asking? We are. Max Shields on the inside gets a good run as we've got the 14 of Hurst Grover on the grass. In the background, he's managed to get going without making too much of an issue as Finn Whiting gets down the inside of Sandro Ballesteros. The 7 of Nicholas Ellis comes down the inside as well. There's contact in the background between Ellis and Ollie Naylor. Naylor's on the inside, though. He's going to get that kart stopped to move back into 4th place. Looked like Ellis was going to take it as well. He's bouncing over the curbs. Oliver Buckton is one of them, and there's a yellow flag in the background as well. We've got somebody sideways in the chicane. See somebody coming through as we see. Oh, the flag's back in now, so it looks like we had a flow runner. Number 8 was in there as well. That was Bartek Filipiak facing the wrong way. He's going to drop down the order. 10-minute final then, and at the moment, Maximus Shields is leading the way from the 81 of Finn Whiting, and Whiting has the pace for this one. He's already come through a couple of races, but he's had that retirement early on. Shields leaves the door open, though. Whiting dives down the inside, and Whiting then runs in wide onto the curb. Classic overtake by Finn Whiting. Shields had to back out. He's going to drop down then into 2nd place. Finn Whiting leads the way. Got a driver with the yellow flag out down at the first chicane with one of the, looks like it could be the 18, but we'll confirm that in a few moments on the time and timing. We'll see. I think actually it could be the 14. We've got the 7 off of Ellis is off. That's all the way down the far end near the hairpin. Nicholas Ellis from 5th place is off and into retirement. His race day ends around 9 minutes earlier than he hoped it would do. And also in the wrong place. The 25 of Vickers is off. That was the driver that was off. I thought it was the 18 of Hewitt, but it's not. It's the 25 of Vickers. And you see both of them, Ellis and Vickers, are dropping down the order. So Oliver Buckton, the driver with the most pace in this one, actually a 47.3. Quicker than most of the drivers in front of him, but has got to find a way through still. Whiting leading the way from Maximus Shields. Ollie Naylor then up into 3rd place, with Sandro Ballesteros dropping down into 4th. Naylor, who's had a good day so far and really took a great advantage earlier on, remember, of that Battenberg flag that came out, because he'd spun earlier in the race and was almost half a lap down. Used the Battenberg as the race was neutralised, closed right back up, made up a few more places, and actually had a really solid race day for Ollie Naylor in the 85 machine from Jacksdale in Nottingham. So one of his closest circuits here at Fulbeck, so it won't be too long for him to get himself home, and at the moment he could be going home with some silverware, so he will have to stick around for another 45 minutes or so for the trophy presentation if he can hang on to P3, and he is starting to pull away from Sandro Ballesteros in 4th place. But the driver to look out for, Oliver Buckton, fastest lap again on the previous lap, over 8/10 quicker than those in front of him. Needs to get past Ballesteros early, though, in this race, does Oliver Buckton. In his final season of karting, the direction for him already going towards classic single-seaters that he's been testing in the last year or so. And that's the direction they're going in terms of their future race career. Now, the direction he wants to go is in front of Sandro Ballesteros, as Jaden Hewitt, mechanical flag for the driver of the number 18 machine in 11th place. He's going to have to head back to the pit lane. Jaden Hewitt, unfortunate for him, but the mechanical flag is out, and you don't get an option when that's waved in front of you. It's straight back to the pit lane to have whatever it is sorted on that car, and the time that you lose, you just can't get back out and make up any sort of position in these short races. So Jaden Hewitt will receive the flag in a few moments' time. And that will as Oliver Buckton once again pumps in a 50:45.8, the fastest lap of the race once again for the driver of the 66. Closing in on the back of Sandro Ballesteros, as is Ollie Naylor closing in on the back of Maximus Shields. The gap between the leaders, Whiting has almost a second back to Shields, and the previous lap Shields had 4/10 to Ollie Naylor as Naylor tries a very late move down the inside but has the door closed on him. Didn't really have a right to go for that move, unfortunately, Naylor, because Shields would have had absolutely no idea it was coming if he'd have thrown the one down the inside, and Naylor does well there to back out and lives to fight another corner. Half race distance then, over start finishes Shields, puts in a personal best, as does Naylor, 2/10 quicker though, Naylor than Shields. Closing right in, bouncing it over the curb. Shields is going to leave the door open there, is he? No, not enough for Naylor to get alongside, unfortunately for him, down there. But then Shields runs very wide over the curbs, and Naylor closes right back up into the second chicane. They head down then towards turn 3. The mechanical flag still being waved for Jaden Hewitt, still showing in 11th place in front of Harry Hurstgrover and Oliver Green. But we will expect him to have to return into the pit lane ever so shortly for that mechanical flag, which is unfortunate for the driver making the trip over the water. He has shown a good account of himself in the trip over. Hopefully the disappointment of the mechanical flag there in the final won't be too much for him, as we see Josh Vickers still stood with his helmet on, disappointment. But we can see the problem with that car is that his front left wheel is pointing in the wrong direction. And by that I mean his front right's pointing in completely the other, so that car isn't going any further. There's the 87 of Tom Holden coming into the pit lane as well. He's going to drop outside the top 10. Harry Hurstgrover then, who was facing the wrong way on the opening lap, back up into the top 10 as Ollie Naylor goes down the inside of Max Shields and bounces over the curbs. That was more of a case where he had to go over the curbs to take evasive action there, did Ollie Naylor. He didn't really have a choice as Shields closed the door. Naylor was coming from a fair distance back, though, by the look of it, down there into that turn 4 hairpin. 4 minutes remaining in this junior Rotax final. Finn Whiting, 8 laps in, continues to lead. The gap 2.4 seconds as Max Shields having now to defend second place from Ollie Naylor. Sandro Ballesteros a second further back in 4th, with Oliver Buckton, who had the early pace in this race, but then has now had his flow stemmed somewhat by Sandro Ballesteros, who is defending. You can see it in the background. He's parking that cart right in the middle of the track, holding on here to try and pick up points from Oliver Buckton. Looking over his shoulder, Buckton just can't find a way past Sandro Ballesteros. And whilst Oliver Buckton probably has half a second in his pocket, unfortunately he can't get his pocket open because Sandro Ballesteros is holding it shut. Naylor sets the fastest lap of the race in front of them as he tries to close in on Max Shields. He's right there. He's even willing that cart along, bouncing in the seat, trying to get an extra fraction of power out of it to get him up onto the back of the 18 machine of Maximus Shields in front of him. Bouncing it through the chicane, sorry, the 181 of Shields, just holding off Ollie Naylor. 2.5 minutes remaining. Finn Whiting is 2.7 down the road, having got past Maximus Shields on the second lap of the race, and has then just driven off into the distance, eking out the gap by a couple of tenths per lap. Emma's been on, wishing Harry Hurstgrover all the best for his luck, and he's actually had a difficult day, but he's come back and he might just grab a top 10 out of this one after the earlier problems he had in the race. The spin down there in the chicane 2. So hopefully he's not picked up a penalty for anything like that, but everybody behind him has actually started to fall away now, with Holden, Hewitt, Ellis and Vickers all into retirement. Green a lap down as well, as we head into the final few laps then of this junior Rotax final. Finn Whiting with it pretty much in the bag, but until the checkered flag drops, anything can happen, and we've seen that throughout the day here at Fulbeck. You do have to make sure that you are facing the right way for the entire race, and you don't want to throw it away, as Whiting then plugs in the fastest lap of the race, the 55.4. Shields has opened the gap now ever so slightly from Ollie Naylor, although Naylor did close up slightly on that last lap, a slightly faster lap, but Shields on the previous one had opened the gap up to give him a little bit of respite. Now Buckton still cannot find a way past Sandro Ballesteros, and this could be a case for Oliver Buckton of what could have been for this final. The pace he had really closing up as there's some lap traffic there in front. And there's contact. And Naylor is sent out of third place by the lap traffic off, and he manages to salvage it just before he gets in the wall. But Ollie Naylor's third place gone in the blink of an eye. The 51 as well. Elston has gone into retirement. With literally seconds remaining in this final, Ollie Naylor's third place gone. Elston's top 5 finish gone as well. All the way down this field, it's just, I don't even know what to say there on that one. I can only feel sympathy for Ollie Naylor. It was a surefire podium for him in that third place. He's now 5 seconds off Ballesteros and Buckton. Ballesteros then still defending from Oliver Buckton. Now though, instead of it being for P4 and P5, it's for the final step on the podium here at Fulbeck. The leaders come through with what looked to be 2 seconds remaining, so we're going to have 2 more laps of action here at Fulbeck, because the last lap board, if he'd have just eased off for a fraction of a second, maybe coasted a couple of metres down the start straight, you might have seen the last lap board. But it looks like we're going to get 2 more laps of action. Plenty of time then for Buckton to try and get past Ballesteros, who is still defending venomously. But now the stakes have risen as he tries to hold on for third place rather than fourth. And you see there, parks the car right in the middle of the circuit rather than going all the way out onto the white line, which is the optimum line. Once again, sticks there to stop Buckton trying to come down the inside. Ballesteros, this isn't his first rodeo. He knows how to drive, and he's parking that number 19 machine perfectly. The last lap board is out this time for Finn Whiting. Leading the way, 181 then, Maximus Shields, P2. And then it's the battle for the final step. Ballesteros and Buckton still battling it out. Buckton hasn't really had a sniff since he's closed up. He's not been able to get alongside Sandro Ballesteros because Ballesteros has parked the 19 machine absolutely perfectly. As Finn Whiting then round the final couple of corners. He's had good races. He's had bad races today, unfortunately. But the good race that matters is the final. Finn Whiting comes through, sees the checkered flag on the gantry, bounces in the seat and takes victory in Junior Rotax. Maximus Shields gets on the podium, and with him will be Sandro Ballesteros, who holds off Oliver Buckton.